Good afternoon. Do you all remember way long ago, back when you took COM 105, Dr. Weber asked if we could think of an occupation or a job that didn't have any sort of communication involved with it? Well, it was basically impossible because at any sort of level of business, whether it's corporate, small businesses, or even being self-employed, there's always some sort of communication involved with it. Unfortunately, poor and inadequate communication can lead to financial losses or just the inability to reach goals. Today, I'm going to tell you about effective communication in the workplace, involving oral communication, active listening skills, and written communication, all of which will be important skill sets to learn for any career or job you want to get in the future. Beginning with oral communication. Oral communication can be very upfront and informal. You don't have a lot of time to think before you speak as compared to written communication, and usually takes place between general conversations between employees, management, or even just with phone calls. Still, you want to make sure you maintain clarity and concision in your voice, and as well as your word choice, depending on who you're speaking with. You also want to maintain a friendly and polite tone to show that you're open and flexible, but also confident and assured with what you're saying. Mastersofcommunication.org address tone by stating your inflection is just as important as the words themselves. One word can mean a different thing when said in a different tone of voice. So keeping this in mind, it's not what you say, although except it is what you say, but it's also how you say it. So maintaining that friendly tone shows not only your friendly and openness with it, but also your self-assurance and confidence in your message. Also, keep in mind your nonverbal communication. You want to make sure you're maintaining an open stance, eye contact, smiling. All of this, again, will add into your self-assurance and confidence with your message, and whoever's listening to you will take the hint and most likely will mirror your actions. Speaking of your listener, you also want to take into account how your listener is taking in all this information, and depending on this, you may need to alter your communication style. That again goes back to your word choice or just generally how you're communicating your message. You want to make sure everything gets across without confusion or offense on both of your parts. Next, I'd like to discuss active listening. Because communication is not a one-way street. It requires an activity on both sides of the parties in order to get the right message across. Indeed.com defines active listening as the ability to focus completely on a speaker, understanding their message, comprehend the information, and respond thoughtfully. So it's not just hearing what you're being told, but taking all that information in and being able to paraphrase it so you get the right idea. And if needed, ask for clarity from your speaker. Also, make sure you're taking into account your nonverbal communication to show that you're engaged and you're displaying empathy and understanding of the message. Smile, nodding, maintaining eye contact, although that is sometimes hard to do when you're on the listening side of the conversation. The Center of Innovative Leadership also describes active listening. We often assume it's clear that we're listening and that others know that they're being heard. But the reality is that we as leaders often struggle with tasks and roles that directly relate to active listening, accepting criticism well, dealing with people's feelings, and trying to understand what others think all requires strong active listening skills. I know personally this is something I have learned to struggle with, but keeping in mind all of these skills to actually take in and understand what you're being told will be vital to any sort of conversation you hold in the workplace, especially when you're the one who's being assigned certain tasks. Finally, I'd like to discuss written communication, which is becoming increasingly popular and important in any sort of workplace, especially with all these new technological advances, where communication is being done through emails, memos, even text messages between employers and employees and even their management. You want to make sure, according to USC, that your message that you're writing out is comprehensive, clear, has clarity, is accurate, and appropriate. All of these should be within your message. Now, written communication is much more formal in design because you have that extra time to actually edit and craft out the message you want to get across through any sort of medium. Nonetheless, you want to make sure you're addressing your purpose and exactly what you want your receiver to take away from your message, especially if it's including tasks or anything you need to get done. Now, unfortunately, with written communication, you can't rely on tone. So nonetheless, you should always consider your word choice and maintain your professionalism in the message that you're trying to craft. And of course, dealing with any sort of medium that you're trying to send it across. Stephen Cameron from BizFluent.com advises that the differences between someone who thinks they're a professional writer as opposed to an adequate writer is all about editing. So make sure you're taking that extra time to craft that message, depending on your word choice and your audience, and taking the extra time just to make sure you get the exact right message you want sent across. In conclusion, effective communication in the workplace is a super broad topic, and maybe it's not the most fascinating one either, but it is an absolute necessity in any sort of job or workplace that you may end up in. With oral communication, speaking the right message, listening, interpreting the right message, and writing and typing the right comprehensive message that you want to send or receive is vital to any sort of position that you'll apply for. Thank you.